Knockout Legends in the building. Like, comment, and subscribe. So I've just been watching Joshua vs Daniel Dubois press conference, and it's pretty interesting to know that the card is stacked. Now, Turkey always gets what Turkey wants. So if you're talking tough Turkey, you're always going to get what you want. Anyway, it seems he has stacked everything in favour of British boxing. He's got Boxer, he's got Kelly Sauerland, and obviously he's got Frank, and he's got Eddie, and he's got Spencer Brown as well. So the matchups are very interesting because basically we've got a number of people on the undercard of Joshua vs Daniel Dubois. So there's Willie Hutchinson, who's just had the Craig Richard fight, and he's in fine form, and he's fighting Joshua Buatsi. So what he said about Buatsi being the same level as Craig Richards, that was funny because he was trying to get a rise out of Buatsi, and I think he did actually get under his skin, to be fair, and he did give him a bit of a niggle in the sense that, you know, whatever, but I don't know who the actual opponent who was supposed to be fighting prior to that, but obviously he's got to change who he's fighting now, because Hutchinson is who he's fighting now. But Hutchinson surprised everyone. He fought Richards, so will there be a potential upset coming up on this fight? But anyway, moving on, we got the element of Josh Kelly versus Liam Smith. Kelly seems to have reinvigorated his career after the David Adenisium loss. I've not seen that much more of his fight since the loss, and to be honest, he did look good prior to that fight. But it just goes to show a good old defense and putting your hands up and knowing how to block Trump's reflexes, because obviously if someone times you, then you're going to get hit and they can hurt you, which is what happened versus Adenisium. And it would be kind of foolhardy to rule out Liam Smith, because even though showing in Smith's last outing versus Chris Eubanks Jr., you can actually see he looks shot. Now, he's been out the ring because of injury, but he did look really poor. He looked like a retired fighter that's way down on the slide. So for me, I'm picking Josh Kelly for this fight unless Liam Smith can show me something to turn back the time. But I doubt it. He looks old as his grey hairs. Kelly Sauerland looking like Wallace and Gromit. He's looking really old. He's deteriorated quite significantly. Obviously, he's talking about his fighter and he's giving his fighter props, saying it's his time, and obviously Smith's time's done. Anyway, another great matchup that looks like it's going to be one on the bill is the super featherweight title. I think it's IBF and IBO, Josh Warrington versus Anthony Cacace. Cacace already done the business on Joe Cordino and upset everybody and shocked a lot of boxing fans, because a lot of people thought Cordino would win that, and I'm not going to even lie, myself, I thought that as well. But you can actually see he's the real deal, and obviously it showed why he couldn't get a lot of fights, because people wouldn't fight him. He's probably one of those fighters that's just so flipping awkward to fight and so tough that nobody wants to fight them. But Josh Warrington, he's 1 in 5, so he's only won 1 in 5. But you know what you're getting with a Josh Warrington fight, and you get him flipping heart, bloods and guts. So you're gonna get a scrap, and sometimes it's a calculated scrap, sometimes it's just go out there and scrap, but you're gonna get the best. Now, is Warrington on the slide? His record would suggest that, but he's still an ex-world champion, and you know what you're gonna get with him. So I think with a lot of what he was saying in the press conference, he's right. If you're a fighter, you're gonna get the fights regardless, win or lose or draw, and you're gonna give a good performance. So based off that, that's why he's got the fight. To be fair, even though Cacace is a champion, nobody knows who he is. So the matchup kind of balances itself out in the sense that by putting him up against Warrington, you're going to get a good balance. So a great unknown fighter versus a fighter that's well known and is going to give a good scrap. But I'm not going to count Warrington out because he always pulls it out of the bag. And obviously he's going up in weight, so he's coming from featherweight and he's going up to super featherweight. So he's going to have something to prove. Plus, with him going up in weight, it might translate in more power. Maybe he's been drained too long at that weight. But anyway, so he probably needed to move up a bit more in weight anyway. Maybe that's one of the reasons why he's lost. So maybe Joshua can turn back time and roll it back and do the business. Anyway, but we know what you're going to get with Kakachi based off the Cardina fight. So you know that you're going to get an explosive fight, which is pretty good for boxing. So with this being held at Wembley and Frank and Eddie working together, we've got some great matchups on the bill. So moving on, we have Tyler Denny, and Tyler Denny has come through in his last 6 fights and he's been the underdog. Basically, he's come through all these fights, and now that he's fighting Hamza Shiraz, there seems to be a lot of respect between the two fighters. But basically, this is a good matchup because it seems that Shiraz was supposed to fight some other opponents, but obviously he's not. The fights have not come through, so nobody stepped up. So I think he was in line for a world title fight, but it seems he's taking on the European champion Tyler Denny. So obviously he's come fresh off his win off Felix Cash, and he was an underdog in that fight and nobody was expecting him to win. So this is a big step up for him, and he's actually the champion. So in a lot of people's eyes are going to be on Hamza Shiraz and think he may do a job. But, you know, it's boxing, anything can happen. I'm just going to edge towards a little bit here, the underdog, even though I know Hamza Shiraz is really, really good. But I just see something in Tyler Denny. So, but anyway, the Joshua vs Dubois fight, this will be an interesting fight because both fighters have fought before, and the rumour is inspiring that Dubois dropped Joshua. Now, both the trainers have actually made their respective fighters a lot better. I think they've instilled a lot of confidence and self-belief within the fighters, so their performances have improved. So Don Charles, he's been working with Daniel for 12 months. You can see the progression from the Usyk fight up to this point with the Filip Hrgovic and obviously Jarrell Miller in the middle. And he's got better and better with each fight. Now, obviously he got beat by Usyk, so I think he just maybe needed a little bit of a confidence boost, and I think he's got that, but he still needs to learn how to move his head and cover up a lot more better. His tenacity is there, his aggression is there, his heart's there. His heart has been called into question, but he seems like he's got that in check, and because obviously the Miller fight, he looks a lot better. So he's got the fights that Frank has wanted him to fight. So this is his second world title that he's won, even though he has won it through being the interim champion. He's still a champion, I suppose. But anyway, Davison with Joshua, I think he's given Joshua the keys to do what he wants to do, and to do it in the most simplest way, getting straight to the point, and when you need to execute. And I think that's what basically Joshua has always needed, because he's got a lot of tools in his toolbox, and I think sometimes Joshua can get a bit overwrought and let things get to him, and it messes with his head. So whenever he should just listen to instructions, he should just keep it simple and do what he needs to do, and when he sees the opportunity, and execute. And simple as that. And I think that's what Davison brings to Joshua in his mental capacity. So you don't have to ask this person or that person and that person what to do. So the game plan is you go out and do what you do. You know, if that don't work, then the other game plan is you go and do whatever, and then you execute and then go for the win. And you can see the improvements in Joshua as well. So working with Davidson's good. So in the final actual words between Dubois and Joshua, Joshua just kind of says what he more always says, but Dubois was pretty brief. You can see he's got a lot more confidence in speaking and from his last outings, and he's saying what he's saying. He actually believes in what he's doing, and obviously with him being a champion now, it's giving him the belief to say a lot of the things that he wants to say. I think we're seeing Daniel more as a man now, and not just the young boy. But Josh was just saying the usual things that he says, and I think he personally thinks he will beat Dubois. But don't get me wrong, Dubois has improved, but I think he still needs a few more tests. And I understand why Frank keeps rushing him and pushing him into these fights and putting him in the right direction. And in a way, it sort of was baby steps, but I think it's actually worked. But I genuinely think Daniel needs about 2 more fights to be fighting someone like Joshua. Just because, for the simple fact, even though he's fought Usyk, he didn't win versus Usyk, regardless of what was said and what happened and whatnot. He lost. When he had the opportunity to win, he didn't win. Now, Joshua's the only person that's actually put up a good fight versus Usyk. Even Fury in his last fight, he looked good up until the 9th round when he got punched from pillar to post. And to be fair, we know that the referee should have stopped that fight, and he saved Fury, But anyway, the only person that's actually come close to actually looking good versus Usyk is Joshua, because he's the only one that's actually gone the full distance without getting hurt really bad. Alibet really technically knocked out for the Fury fight within the fight for there to be a rematch anyway. But ain't it funny how karma comes around, because a lot of people, when Joshua got beat, what were they saying? They're not saying anything like that now. And I'll bet Joshua's kept it classy and not said anything, but still, sometimes less is more. But anyway, I honestly think Daniel needs to go back and beat Joyce, just psychologically, and then probably another top fighter before he fights Joshua. Maybe the outcome will be different, but with this fight going ahead where it's going ahead, I honestly believe Joshua is going to beat him. And just for the fact that he's got a lot more experience, that's something Daniel hasn't got. Now, if Daniel was, how can I put it, steamrolling all his other opponents and he'd not lost, maybe it would be different psychologically, but them losses have actually left something in his mind, maybe a little bit of doubt. But Joshua's improved and he's revitalised in his confidence, so it's going to be a good fight. But I don't think Daniel's going to win. And I do honestly believe that Joshua will knock him out. And whoever wins the Fury versus Usyk fight, I think Joshua will beat. So if he fights Fury, he will beat Fury. And I honestly think he'll knock him out. And if he fights Usyk again, I honestly think he will knock him out. And I wouldn't be surprised if Usyk doesn't even take that fight and he goes back down to cruiserweight and just stays back at cruiserweight because he's done what he needs to do, which would be smart. And I don't think anyone could say he was ducking Joshua or he's scared of Joshua. I think it's a case of you've got away with what you've got away with, and at some point you are going to lose, so you do actually have to call it a day, in the sense that you may lose. So you would have to actually kind of stop. What's the saying? Stop while you're ahead, because you may actually come a cropper and ruin all the good work you've done. But anyway, what are your thoughts? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe. And that is another one from the one and only Knockout Legends. Peace.